Why the U.S. is still involved in Syria. A closer look at the fight against ISIS and beyond. In 2014, the United States launched a military campaign in Syria aimed at dismantling the Islamic State, also known as ISIS. What began as a targeted counterterrorism effort has since evolved into a complex and ongoing mission involving multiple international actors, proxy forces, and political interests. So what is the U.S. still doing in Syria? And why does this conflict remain unresolved more than a decade later? Let's break it down. Background. How it all started. In 2011, Syria descended into civil war after nationwide protests were met with government crackdowns. The chaos gave rise to extremist groups, most notably ISIS, which rapidly took control of vast territories in Syria and Iraq. By 2014, the threat had grown so severe that the U.S., alongside an international coalition, began launching airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria. The U.S. mission. Key objectives. The U.S. military campaign in Syria has centered around three primary goals. 1. Defeating ISIS. Through airstrikes and intelligence sharing, the U.S. helped Kurdish-led forces push ISIS out of key cities like Raqqa, its former capital. 2. Supporting local partners. The U.S. trained and armed the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, a coalition largely made up of Kurdish fighters. This partnership became vital to ground operations. 3. Preventing the return of terrorism. Even after major battlefield victories, ISIS remnants still exist. U.S. surveillance and limited ground presence aim to prevent the group's resurgence. Where things stand now, 2025. The U.S. maintains a small number of troops in northeastern Syria, mostly for training and coordination. Drone strikes are occasionally used to neutralize high-level ISIS figures. Political tensions remain, especially with Turkey, which sees some Kurdish groups as a threat. The broader geopolitical landscape. The Syrian conflict is no longer just about ISIS. It's a complex web of overlapping interests. Russia supports the Syrian government and operates air bases in the region. Iran backs various militias aligned with the regime. Turkey has launched operations against Kurdish groups near its border. The U.S., while focused on counterterrorism, must navigate all these regional power plays. Challenges. Facing U.S. involvement. Despite battlefield gains, several challenges remain. Lack of a clear exit strategy. Diplomatic strains with allies in the region. Balancing humanitarian concerns with military goals, avoiding conflict with Russia or Iranian-backed forces. Why it still matters today. You may be wondering, if ISIS lost its territory, why is the U.S. still there? The answer lies in prevention. A sudden withdrawal could create a power vacuum, the very environment that allowed ISIS to grow in the first place. U.S. officials argue that maintaining a limited strategic presence helps ensure stability and protects allies. Calls for peace and diplomacy. While military efforts have slowed, diplomatic negotiations are ongoing. The United Nations continues to push for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Humanitarian aid is still essential, as millions of Syrians remain displaced. The international community hopes that the future of Syria can be determined not by bombs or bullets, but through diplomacy, reconstruction, and respect for human rights. Conclusion. What the world must watch. The U.S. role in Syria is far from over, but it's also no longer at the center of headlines. Yet beneath the surface, this quiet military presence represents one of America's longest-running overseas missions. Whether it leads to long-term peace or becomes another frozen conflict, only time will tell.